Taking a pill takes 2 seconds. Medical keto takes planning, tracking, and a complete overhaul of how you eat. Many have said to me that it just feels easier and more comfortable to just keep taking medications. But if this really is the case, then why do so many people stop taking their meds? And why are there so many looking for a better way to treat their illness? To be clear right off the bat, this is not a video about bashing medication. And it's not about pretending that keto is some magic cure either. It's about something a lot of people living with mental illness go through but rarely talk about: struggling to stick with treatment. Whether it's a prescription or a dietary therapy, a lot of people struggle to stay consistent, and it is not because they're lazy or weak. In this video, we'll look at what the science actually says about adherence, why both options are harder than they seem, and why some people, like myself, are now choosing to try medical ketogenic therapy, even though it's maybe not as easy as swallowing a pill. If you're on medication and it's working without reducing your quality of life, that is great. But if you are struggling, it is okay to ask, is there something else that I can try? Before we go further, there is a really important distinction that we need to make. In research and modern clinical care, the term non-adherence is often used to describe when someone doesn't follow a prescribed treatment, like skipping meds or stopping entirely. It's a pretty neutral term, and it recognizes that people may have good reasons for that decision: side effects, access issues, lack of benefit, or simply wanting more control over their care. But in practice, especially in psychiatry, the word we hear more often is non-compliance. And that word kind of hits differently. When I was on meds, even just asking questions about side effects or wanting to change my dose or just questioning medications got me labeled as non-compliant. I wasn't refusing care, I just had concerns. But once you're seen as non-compliant, it's like the system turns on you and you are seen as the problem. Being labeled non-compliant doesn't just affect how professionals see you either. It starts to affect how you see yourself. You start to internalize the idea that you are bad or difficult just for struggling or for wanting something different. It can start to feel wrong to entertain any concerns you may be holding about your medication regimen. So in this video, we use the term non-adherence because it leaves space for compassion, collaboration, and change. Okay, so let's start with what the data says. For psychiatric meds, especially antipsychotics, non-adherence is a well-known problem. Studies show that about 44 to 55% of people stop taking their oral antipsychotics within a year. Even long-acting injectables help only slightly. They reduce the risk of discontinuation by about 10 to 15%, but they don't solve the core problem. Medical keto doesn't come out looking perfect either. In epilepsy research, about 60 to 70% of adults stay on the diet at 3 months, but only around 29% make it to 1 full year. In early pilot studies for bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, short-term adherence is better. About 65 to 80% of people maintained therapeutic ketosis over 4 months. So what does that tell us? On the surface, it does seem like people struggle to stick with both, but that doesn't mean that they're struggling in the same ways. Here's the first big nuance. When someone misses a few pills, they're considered non-adherent. When someone on keto goes over their carb limit or eats off plan for a day, they're probably still trying and still counted as retained in most studies. So important to note that the definitions are different. But the deeper truth is the same, that sticking with any long-term therapy is hard. And maybe the more surprising part is this: medication is designed to be easy. You swallow a pill or you get a shot once a month. And still, so many people stop. That says something about the therapy, about the system, about what we're asking people to live with. Let's look at meds first. Side effects like weight gain, sedation, emotional blunting, and sexual dysfunction. More serious effects like lactation, metabolic syndrome, and tardive dyskinesia, a sometimes permanent movement disorder. People lose insight or stop feeling motivated to take something that numbs them. Some people simply forget or can't get to a pharmacy. And yes, cost can be a barrier too. Now let's take a look at medical keto. Constant food tracking, weighing, and logging. Social friction. It's hard to be the person who brings their own food everywhere. Carb cravings, potential GI issues, and the mental effort of never winging it. Financial strain from buying high-fat whole foods consistently. These are 2 very different types of hard, but they're both real. I myself have experienced difficulties with adherence to both of these types of therapeutic interventions, meds and keto. I have documented pretty thoroughly on this channel over the many years my difficulties with adhering to my medication regimen. This was for various reasons, like difficult side effects that felt really intolerable at times. It was things like feeling like the medications were harming me in some way and wanting to get off them for that reason. And navigating that process was always a really, really difficult one. And it wasn't even always just a desire to get off my medications. I really struggled with just taking them daily at times too. There was a period in my life where I actually was instructed and I had to go to the pharmacy every day to take my medications in front of the pharmacist to ensure that I was taking them. And so I pretty deeply understand how difficult it can be to keep up with this for a multitude of reasons. And then I've also shared a bit about how we tried what we thought was medical ketogenic therapy in 2020, several years ago now, and it didn't really work, and I gave up on it pretty quick. I scrapped it. And so there was an element of lack of adherence to that as well when I wasn't getting results. And so instead of figuring out how to troubleshoot or apply the intervention more effectively, I just kind of scrapped it and went back to my standard way of eating. That first time around, I didn't do things like weigh my food and track ketones, and I just didn't really see any benefits, and so gave it up. But over the last year and a half or so, we have shared a lot on this channel about what it has looked like to revisit it as a more proper medical intervention. I built a team around me, I added in more metabolic therapies, and I just stayed consistent and put in a lot of hard work and saw the results. But it was a lot of work, and that can be really hard in and of itself too, which can affect people's adherence to that as well. Now, instead of asking which treatment is better, let's maybe ask a different question. What is each one actually asking of you? Here's a side-by-side breakdown of the kind of daily effort, support, and friction involved in psychiatric medication versus medical keto. With meds, the daily action is pretty low. You take a pill. With medical keto, it's high. You plan every meal and test your ketones. Meds come with built-in support systems like doctors and pharmacies. Medical keto, you often have to build that network yourself. Meds often come with delayed or unclear feedback, and it's hard to know what's helping. Medical keto gives you more immediate signals like ketone levels and symptom changes. Meds can feel doctor-driven. You can sometimes feel left out of the decision-making process. Keto often feels more empowering, but also more isolating if you don't have support. There really is no winner here, just different kinds of difficulty. We also have to talk about access because both paths do assume a lot. Some medications, especially long-acting injectables, can cost hundreds of dollars a month without coverage. And not everyone has a psychiatrist that they trust or a stable supply of meds. But medical keto comes with its own costs. Buying high-fat foods and nutrient-dense vegetables, access to a keto coach, the time and energy to weigh and track every bite, a ketone monitor, often out of pocket, and sometimes just someone to help you keep going. The truth is, the healthcare system isn't really set up to support people doing medical keto. Most people have to build their own team, find allies, join peer support groups, and self-educate. So if either therapy has felt impossible to stick with, it might not be your fault. It might be that no one gave you the right support. If psychiatric medication is working for you and it isn't lowering your quality of life, hold on to that. That is a win. But if you are struggling to stay on your meds or wondering whether the side effects are worth it, it's okay to ask, is there something else that I can try? Medical keto is not a magic bullet, but it is a serious science-backed intervention that is changing lives. My own life has been completely transformed. Yes, it's work. Yes, it takes support. But for some people, it's the first thing that actually helps. And it might be worth trying, especially if nothing else has. If you've watched to this point, maybe you're understanding this as an inherent decision you need to make between medications or medical ketogenic therapy. But it does not have to be one or the other. You can do both. It's about finding what balance in treatment methods is ultimately going to serve you personally and improve your quality of life the most. If you struggle to stick with either meds or medical keto, we would love to hear your story. Let us know your experience in the comments. Why did you stop meds? Why did you stop keto? Is there anything that you've struggled with around adherence to meds or keto? Thank you so much for watching, and as always, wishing you and your loved ones good health and the strength to speak up, ask questions, and take the lead in your own healing. We'll see you in the next video.